Okay. So my weird question for today is, does San Diego really exist? And what does it have to do with manifesting? Okay. So many, many years ago, I heard Esther Hicks channeling Abraham. And she used to give this analogy about San Diego. They used to travel, her and Jerry, from Phoenix to San Diego. And she used to say, about manifesting, do you stop in the middle of your road, drive between Phoenix and San Diego and bemoan the fact that you haven't gotten to San Diego? Well, the answer is no. I mean, you don't do that. If you're going to San Diego, you know that it takes X amount of time, and you're relatively certain that San Diego exists on the other end. Well, I always thought it was silly that she said that, like, nobody does that. It doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is your belief in San Diego. What does that mean? Well, okay, if you're going to Phoenix or going to San Diego, you know San Diego's on the other end of that road. You're certain. I mean, you're relatively certain because you can't know for sure, but you're relatively certain San Diego exists on the other end of that road. And so you continue down it until you start seeing signs for San Diego, and then you arrive in San Diego. So this has everything to do with our manifesting, because lots of times we do get on the road to San Diego and get 6 hours in, get out, lay on the road and bemoan the fact that San Diego hasn't arrived and we haven't seen any signs for it. The truth is, with our manifestations, we don't really believe it's on the other end of that road. We don't really believe it's on our timeline. We're in a state of hoping that San Diego exists. So think about this. You are in Phoenix, you want San Diego, but you think it might be a myth. So you get on the road, you get yourself psyched up for it, you get yourself in alignment, and then you head towards it. But, a few days in, it hasn't arrived. A month in, it hasn't arrived. A year in, it hasn't arrived. So you decide that San Diego, or your manifestation, doesn't really exist. So what would it take to make sure that that manifestation is on the road that you're heading on, that it's already there? Here's something to think about. Manifestations are different for every person. I have never dreamed of being an astronaut. So astronaut things never come in my vicinity. They're not around me. But I did dream of becoming a person who could change the world through helping others. And here I am, teaching the modality called Cognomovement. But that's been a very, very long road. So that came into my vicinity. But if you're an astronaut, creating and teaching a modality probably doesn't come into your vicinity. So why am I saying this? Because we know that it's true that manifestations are already on your timeline. You may have put them there many lifetimes ago. You may have put them there at the time of your birth. You may have put them there when you're 5 or 6. You may have seen something on TV or in a book or in something someone talked about that impacted you so much that you put that thing right out there in your future. And now that manifestation is literally drawing you forward. It's like San Diego's calling to you, and the road has already been created. You just have to get on the road and stay on the road toward it, meaning a manifestation that is truly important to you has to be something concrete that you know what it is. Now, you don't have to know how to get it. You may not even know all the aspects, but you need to know what specifically. And then it literally becomes like San Diego. It really exists. And it starts to draw you forward. It starts to draw you in. If the manifestation is so vague that what it really is like the reflection of San Diego, it doesn't really exist, but there's a reflection, then there's nothing strong enough to draw you in. There's not enough power in it to coalesce all the pieces and parts that need to come together to become a real 3D thing. See, we need our manifestations to come into this 3D world that we live in and be real, tangible, so we can touch it, taste it, lick it if you want to, right? So we have to make sure that our manifestations are solid, even if they're dreams that we had when we were kids. What does it really look like? If your dream is to be a professional guitar player, have you bought a guitar? Do you know what it takes to become a professional guitar player? Have you thought about where you would play and what city you would play in, possibly? Have you thought about, are you a classical guitar player or are you a rock and roll player? Do you play an acoustic or an electric? What does it mean to you specifically? You see, we do have to become a match in that we have to know where we're going. We have to put it in the GPS in Phoenix to end up in San Diego. Or you could get on the road and end up in Stockton or San Francisco, right? Where are you actually going depends on how clear you've made that manifestation and how clearly it matches what already is drawing you forward. So think about the thing that you want the most in your life. And is it San Diego? Can you put it in your GPS? Can you install it in your nervous system so that you're heading there day by day and that you know for sure you will eventually get there? Even if it's not tomorrow or the next day, you will arrive there. So I accidentally ran into a manifestation on the way to Blind Frog Ranch last year. All of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I'm living this dream that I had thought of years and years ago that I really wanted, but had maybe let go of, but not really. But I wasn't really focused on it. But I ran right into it. We don't want to be accidentally running into our manifestations. We want them to be clear and present and active daily. Even if you just take 5 seconds a day to reorganize that manifestation. If it's being a famous guitar player or guitar player in general, reorganize. Where are you at now? Maybe when you're 16, it was an electric guitar player. And maybe now that you're 30, you're thinking that maybe Spanish guitar suits you better. So what do? You take a Spanish guitar class. You go to Spanish guitar sessions. You get involved in that world. Maybe you're on Spanish guitar forums. You're keeping this manifestation active and alive in the field around you. Speaking of the field around you, did you know that you can actually reach out and touch a manifestation that's highly active in your nervous system? Our nervous systems are constantly cycling from the brain to the body, and they actually create electromagnetic fields. This has been proven out by Heart Math Institute, as well as MIT. It can be measured in a magnetoencephalograph. That's a hard one to say. So we know it's true, but we discovered at Cognomovement that when you have something active enough in your field, good, bad, or ugly, you can reach out and touch it. Like you kind of know where it is. So if I was talking about a trip to San Diego, maybe it might be right here. And I'm talking to maybe my girlfriends about it. And I'm like, I'm going to San Diego pretty soon. And when I do, I'm going to, right? You gesture to it. You kind of just know, and you reach out into your field. And if you didn't know better, man, it feels like there's a little something there, spongy, tingly, thick. Something just feels like it's right there in your field. And it really is. It's simply the pattern in your nervous system, the electromagnetic field has actually filled that space with that idea. And you can feel in there. And you can also feel in your body at the same time. Does that feel like, ooh, yeah? Or does it feel like, oof, I think I'm going to get out of the car and lay on the road 6 miles into a trip to San Diego? And if it's not an ooh, yeah, you want to clear that out of your system. You want to make adjustments. Now, with Cognomovement, we can do that. We can change the nervous system pattern. You can install a really clear signal in your body for that manifestation, or you can delete one that doesn't feel so good. The point is, you've got to be actively working with it, and you have to believe that San Diego exists. You've got to believe your manifestation is really there. What do I mean by believe? I am not talking about a logical mind situation. I'm talking about in your nervous system. When you think about becoming that guitar player, it's embedded. It feels strong. It feels even neutral, that there's no grasping or attaching or fussing that you haven't arrived yet, but a steady knowing that you're on your way there. Never stopping and getting out of the car and laying on the road and bemoaning the fact that you're not in San Diego. Knowing that your GPS, your internal guidance system, your nervous system is clear and targeted. I gave an analogy the other day in a class. So Bill and I are both pilots. And we know that when you put in a heading in your GPS, where the nose of your plane is headed, and let's say you're traveling 100 miles, between the point that you leave and that landing site, there's constant micro adjustments. It's never really a straight path. We know that if you get off even 1 degree, you could end up hundreds of miles off course. In 100 miles, you could end up 25 miles off course. So you have to keep correcting, moving that nose back, heading directly for your target. What gets in the way? Well, in flying, it could be the wind that pushes you off course. It could be clouds in the way that you have to go above or below or around. You have to constantly keep checking that heading, that your nose is headed right towards that target. In manifesting, it's the same way. Sometimes it is not a direct path. You have to keep auto-correcting. And let's go back to our analogy about San Diego. Between Phoenix and San Diego, there's a lot of cool stuff. What if between Phoenix and San Diego, you stop at some roadside attraction? Or what if you see a sign that takes you 60 miles off course to see some amazing scenery, and then you come back and get back on course? That's what life is like as well. These constant auto corrections and maybe some really cool stuff on the way that takes you on a little detour, and not directly to San Diego or not directly to your manifestation. That's okay too. As long as you know that it's there, as long as you are 100% sure as you are that San Diego exists on the West Coast, your manifestation is there and you're heading towards it daily. You're keeping your nervous system active around that manifestation and clear, or at least at neutral or better, meaning you're not grasping. You feel okay. You're sure that your GPS is heading you there. That is the feeling that we must stay in to reach San Diego or to reach our manifestations. And sometimes you run into them by accident. But think about that. Think about the thing that you want the most in your life and see if you, in your body, when you think about it, feel great and you know for sure your GPS is taking you there, or maybe you don't think San Diego exists. It's really a fun thing to think about, and it's a way to sort through the things you want in your life. How certain are you that they're drawing you forward? How certain are you that they're in your timeline and that you will connect with them at some point, even if you take a course correction, even if you take a detour to some amazing scenery? If you want to know more about manifesting the Cognomovement way, the Cogno Quantum way, download our free ebook, Tiny Book of Big Manifesting. It's in the cognomovement.com website. But in the meantime, take inventory. See if your GPS is headed to San Diego or not. All you guys are going to want to flock to San Diego after this interview. I tell you, it's very beautiful. But choose another city if it serves you well, and see if you can feel the same way about an actual location as you can about your upcoming manifestation, and get back on the road. Get back on the road with a clear, steady, confident nervous system. All right, you guys know me. I'll be back with some other weird questions real soon. Take care and happy manifesting.